This is Heliox, where evidence meets empathy. Independent, moderated, timely, deep, gentle, clinical, global, and community conversations about things that matter. Breathe easy, we go deep and lightly surface the big ideas. All right, welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at something pretty fascinating, something you might not think about too much, but something you're always carrying around with you.
Yeah.
Your gut microbiome. And specifically, we're going to be looking at how it's influenced by vegan, vegetarian, and omnivore diets.
Lots of interest in that.
And our compass for this journey is a massive study. It comes out of the University of Trento in Italy.
Okay.
It was published in Nature Microbiology. Over 21,000 people. Can you believe that?
Oh, yeah.
Talk about a deep dive, huh?
Yeah.
Now, you might think going vegan, that's the golden ticket to a perfectly balanced gut.
Right.
Before we kind of jump into the findings, can you set the stage for us a little bit? Why is the gut microbiome getting so much attention these days?
Well, it's amazing to think that these trillions of bacteria living in our gut aren't just passengers. They form this complex ecosystem that impacts pretty much every aspect of our health, from how well we digest food to how our immune system functions.
Wow.
And some research even suggests a link between the gut microbiome and mental health.
Okay, so the gut microbiome is a big deal. But this study found something I wasn't expecting.
Okay.
Vegans and vegetarians actually had less diverse gut microbiomes than omnivores. I have to admit, that surprised me.
Yeah, I can see why that would raise an eyebrow. It turns out that diversity isn't the only factor at play here.
Okay.
It's not just about having a lot of different bacteria, but also about having the right ones. The ones that work together to create a healthy, well-functioning system.
So it's like having a specialized team instead of a random crowd.
Exactly.
You need the right players in the right positions.
And just like each sports team has its own unique lineup, each diet seems to create its own distinct microbial signature in the gut.
So what did those signatures look like in this study? What set the omnivore microbiome apart, for example?
So the researchers found that the omnivore microbiome was enriched in bacteria like Lstps putridinus.
Okay.
Now, that might sound a little intimidating,
Yeah.
but this little guy actually plays a really helpful role in digesting meat protein.
Makes sense. If you're eating meat regularly, your gut needs the tools to break it down.
Precisely.
Yeah.
But here's where things get a little more complicated. Along with those meat digesting helpers, omnivores also tended to have more bacteria associated with inflammation.
Oh.
Like Rhumnococcus torx and Bellophila wadsworthia.
Okay.
And some research even suggests that these bacteria might play a role in an increased risk of colon cancer.
Okay, so maybe too much of a good thing? Or too much steak, in this case, might not be the best strategy for long-term gut health?
It definitely highlights the importance of balance and choosing leaner meats whenever possible.
Okay, what about the vegan microbiome? How did their microbial signature differ?
Well, as you might expect, vegans had a higher proportion of bacteria that specialize in fermenting fiber, particularly from the Bacteroides and Firmicutes families.
Okay, but why is that a good thing?
Well, those fiber-fermenting bacteria are like tiny factories that produce something called short-chain fatty acids.
Okay.
And one of these, butyrate, is particularly important for gut health. It acts as an anti-inflammatory, helps maintain the integrity of your gut lining, and even provides energy for the cells in your colon.
So eating more fiber is like sending in reinforcements for your gut's defense system.
That's a great way to put it. Now, when the researchers compared vegetarians to vegans, the main difference they noticed was the presence of Streptococcus thermophilus in vegetarians.
Okay.
This bacterium was almost entirely absent in the vegan group.
Wait a minute, Streptococcus thermophilus, isn't that what's used to make yogurt?
You got it.
Okay.
It's found in dairy products and plays a key role in the fermentation process that gives yogurt its unique, tangy flavor and texture. And this finding shows how even seemingly small differences in dietary choices can lead to distinct changes in the makeup of the gut microbiome.
So it's not just about choosing a dietary label, it's about the quality of the food within that label, right? A junk food vegan is probably not doing their gut any favors.
You're absolutely right. The study actually found that the healthiest microbiomes, regardless of dietary label, belong to people who focused on a high-quality diet.
What does that look like exactly? What should we be aiming for?
It's pretty straightforward. A diet that emphasizes plant-based foods, especially those rich in fiber, and limits highly processed foods, especially processed meats.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've talked about how food influences our gut bacteria.
Right.
But the study also revealed something pretty mind-blowing to me, that some of our gut bacteria might actually come directly from the food we eat.
That's right. It's a fascinating concept they call food-to-gut transfer. Essentially, certain bacteria in our food can take up residence in our gut, potentially contributing to the overall diversity and function of our microbiome.
So you're telling me that my cheese could be directly seeding my gut with bacteria?
It's certainly a possibility, and this is where things get really interesting.
So the bacteria in our food could be setting up camp in our gut. What are the implications of that?
Well, it opens up all sorts of questions about how we can actively shape our gut microbiome through the foods we choose. If we're essentially seeding our gut with bacteria from our diet, that gives us a powerful tool to cultivate a healthier inner ecosystem.
It makes you wonder what else we might discover about this intricate relationship between food and our gut bacteria.
It's a rapidly evolving field, for example. The study found that vegans had the fewest of these food-associated bacteria, while vegetarians and omnivores had more, particularly from dairy products.
But that makes sense given that vegans avoid all animal products, including dairy.
Exactly, and it highlights the fascinating interplay between our dietary choices and the composition of our gut microbiome. But even more intriguing is the potential of this food-to-gut transfer to introduce beneficial bacteria directly into our system.
You're referring to fermented foods, right? We touched on that earlier with yogurt, but the study mentioned other fermented dairy products as well.
Yes, fermented foods like yogurt, kimchi, and sauerkraut are teeming with live bacteria, often referred to as probiotics. And there's growing evidence that consuming these foods can directly introduce those beneficial bacteria into our gut, potentially contributing to a healthier microbiome.
So you're saying that enjoying a bowl of yogurt or some tangy sauerkraut might be like giving our gut a dose of those good-for-you microbes.
Precisely. And while the study focused on dairy-based fermented foods, there's also research suggesting that plant-based options, like kimchi and sauerkraut, could offer similar benefits. It's fascinating to consider how these traditional food practices might have been unknowingly promoting gut health for centuries.
Okay, I'm definitely adding more fermented foods to my shopping list. But before we move on, I wanted to circle back to something we talked about earlier, the potential downsides of meat consumption, particularly when it comes to those bacteria associated with inflammation. Should we all be ditching meat entirely?
That's a great question, and it's important to emphasize that the study didn't suggest completely eliminating meat. It's more about moderation and making informed choices.
So maybe swapping out that double cheeseburger for a grilled chicken salad now and then would be a step in the right direction.
Exactly, and remember, even within the meat category, there's a spectrum of options. Lean meats, fish, and poultry are generally lower in saturated fat and may have a less detrimental impact on the gut microbiome compared to processed meats.
This is also fascinating, but I think it's important to acknowledge that making significant dietary changes can feel overwhelming for some people. What advice would you give to someone who's feeling a little lost and doesn't know where to begin?
Don't get bogged down trying to overhaul your entire diet overnight. Small, gradual changes can have a big impact over time. Start by incorporating more plant-based foods into your meals. Swap out your usual afternoon snack for a piece of fruit or add a side of veggies to your dinner.
Those are great, manageable steps. It's about building sustainable habits, not striving for perfection.
Exactly. And remember, every individual is unique. What works for one person might not work for another. Listen to your body, pay attention to how different foods make you feel, and adjust your approach accordingly.
That's such an important reminder. Speaking of listening to our bodies, I was curious about something. The study focused primarily on the composition of the gut microbiome, but I was wondering if you could shed some light on how a healthy gut actually feels. What are some of the signs that our gut microbiome is thriving?
That's a great question. While researchers are still uncovering all the nuances of this connection, there are some clues we can look for. People with healthier gut microbiomes often report better digestion, less bloating, and more regular bowel movements.
So if someone's constantly battling digestive discomfort, that could be a sign that their gut microbiome needs a little TLC.
It's certainly a possibility. Other indicators of a thriving gut microbiome include improved energy levels, a stronger immune system, and even a more balanced mood.
Wait, you're saying a healthier gut could actually boost my mood?
Remember, the gut is often referred to as our second brain because it produces a significant amount of neurotransmitters, including serotonin, which plays a key role in regulating mood.
That's incredible. I never realized the connection was so deep. So taking care of our gut is like investing in our mental well-being as well.
That's a great way to put it. It's all interconnected, and that's what makes this field of research so exciting. We're only beginning to scratch the surface of understanding the profound impact of our gut microbiome on our overall health and well-being.
Okay, I'm feeling pretty inspired to start nourishing my gut from the inside out. But before we wrap things up, there's one more point from the study I wanted to touch on, this idea of food to gut transfer. We talk about how fermented foods can introduce beneficial bacteria, but the study also noted that vegans have the fewest food-associated bacteria in their microbiomes. Does that mean they're missing out on some potential benefits?
Not necessarily. While vegans might have fewer food-derived bacteria, their plant-rich diets offer a different set of advantages. They tend to have a higher abundance of those fiber-fermenting bacteria we discussed earlier, which play a crucial role in producing those gut-loving, short-chain fatty acids.
So it's like different paths leading to the same destination, a healthy and balanced gut microbiome.
Exactly. And it emphasizes the importance of personalized nutrition. What works best for one person might not be the ideal approach for another. It's about finding what feels good for you and supports your unique gut ecosystem.
That makes perfect sense. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on where this research is heading. What are some of the potential applications of this knowledge in the future?
The possibilities are incredibly exciting. Imagine a future where doctors can analyze your gut microbiome and recommend personalized dietary interventions to optimize your health or even develop targeted probiotics tailored to your specific needs.
That sounds almost futuristic, like something out of a science fiction movie.
It might not be as far-fetched as it seems. We're already seeing companies emerge that offer gut microbiome testing and personalized recommendations based on the results.
That's amazing. But with all this talk of personalized nutrition and tailoring our diets to our gut bacteria, I have to wonder, could there be any downsides to this approach? Could it potentially lead to more food anxieties or even fuel a new kind of diet culture where people obsess over optimizing their gut microbiome?
Those are valid concerns. As with any scientific advancement, it's essential to proceed thoughtfully and avoid oversimplifying complex information.
We've covered so much ground in this deep dive into the gut microbiome. It's incredible to think about this hidden universe within us, influencing our health in countless ways. It really is a paradigm shift, isn't it?
It is.
It's like we're not just individuals. We're like walking ecosystems,
Yeah.
sharing our bodies with like trillions of these microscopic passengers.
And those passengers are far from passive.
Right.
They're playing an active role in shaping our health, our metabolism, even our behavior, in ways we're only just beginning to understand.
It's almost like we're co-piloting this human experience
Yeah.
with our gut bacteria. We make choices,
Yeah.
but they have a say in how those choices play out.
That's a great way to think about it. And it underscores the importance of respecting that relationship. We need to nourish our gut microbiome as we would any other vital organ,
Right.
recognizing its essential role in our overall well-being.
You know, this whole conversation has made me realize how often we take our gut for granted.
Yeah.
It's like we spend so much time focusing on what's happening on the outside,
Right.
but we often neglect this incredible inner world
Yeah.
that's working tirelessly to keep us healthy.
It's true. And for far too long, we've viewed bacteria as the enemy,
Yeah.
something to be eradicated.
Right.
But the emerging science of the gut microbiome is revealing a much more nuanced and interconnected reality. We need these microbes to survive and thrive.
So what can we do to, like, cultivate a more harmonious relationship with our gut bacteria? Besides, eating a diverse plant-rich diet, incorporating fermented foods, are there other things we can do to support a thriving gut microbiome?
Absolutely. Lifestyle factors play a significant role as well.
Like what?
Managing stress, getting enough sleep, even spending time in nature have been shown to have positive effects on the gut microbiome.
It's fascinating to think that things like taking a walk in the woods
Yeah.
or practicing mindfulness could actually be influencing the balance of bacteria in our gut.
It speaks to the interconnectedness of our mind, body, and environment. And remember, there's no one-size-fits-all solution when it comes to gut health.
Okay.
What works best for one person might not be the ideal approach for another. It's about finding what feels good for you and honoring your body's unique needs.
It's like we're all on a personal quest
Yeah.
to discover the optimal balance within our own unique gut ecosystem.
I love that analogy. It's a continuous journey of exploration and discovery, guided by curiosity. and a willingness to listen to our bodies.
And who knows what amazing insights we'll uncover along the way.
Right.
Maybe one day we'll be able to communicate directly with our gut bacteria,
Yeah.
understand their language, and work together to create a truly symbiotic partnership.
That's a fascinating thought. And with the rapid pace of scientific advancement, it might not be as far-fetched as it seems.
Well, on that note of boundless possibilities, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the fascinating world of the gut microbiome. It's been a real eye-opener for me, and I hope you feel the same way. If you're looking for a thought to chew on, consider this. If our gut microbiome is so deeply influenced by what we eat, what does that say about the interconnectedness of all living things? From the soil to the plants to the animals to us, are we all just temporary vessels for a vast and ancient microbial network? Thanks for joining us on this exploration of the gut microbiome. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep feeding your curiosity.